So I've been using the new iPad Mini 6 for just over 3 months now. And I've been wanting to make this video for you because I want to share the things that I do still really like about the iPad Mini 6, but also the one big thing that might be a reason for me to change to something different. It's the seaplane. First thing to talk about, in my last video I mentioned about the Apple Pencil as being a good option to use with the iPad Mini 6. It's better integrated, it charges by connecting to it magnetically on the side. But I've got to be honest, I haven't been using it an awful lot in the cockpit. I have used it a little.
Runway 35 right, horizon departures east, frequency 118.1, temperature 16, QNH 1014. First contact broken ground on tower, notify receipt of information, Oscar.
I have been tending to revert back to paper and pencil. There's just something that I actually prefer, especially when I'm getting things that I'm not expecting. So if air traffic control comes over the radio and tells me to do something and I wasn't expecting it, it still feels like it's a bit of hassle to get the pencil out, to swipe up, to start writing. When I've got a pad and a pencil sitting next to me, it just still feels, sometimes I actually put the pencil in my hat, it still feels easier just to grab the pencil, write a note, and it's there. And clearly with paper you can't accidentally delete them, so if I've written down something and 10 minutes later I need to find it again, well, it's always going to be there on the paper for me. On the iPad sometimes it just feels fiddly, and in the cockpit when I'm flying I don't like fiddly. One key difference between the iPad Mini 6 and the iPad Mini 5, which I used before, is the fingerprint to unlock versus the home button to unlock at the bottom. I actually am getting used to the fingerprint to unlock, but it does take a second. You have to rest your finger on it and then it will unlock the iPad for you. On the iPad Mini 5, what I had was I actually had the home button set to unlock and no passcode. So I could just press the home button and it would unlock. Not a deal breaker, but it's just an extra step that I would like to take away if I could. Also, there is a reason why I'm down here on the beach. I didn't just want a nice backdrop because I am cycling today. I'm doing a cycle ride, like a sponsored, well not a sponsor, but a fundraising cycle ride for an aviation company, which is coming up on the channel in a couple of weeks' time, which I will share with you. So I'm practicing, I'm cycling because I don't cycle as often as I should, especially if I'm going to try and raise funds for a big aviation company. Right, let's go here, shall we? Now in terms of storage, if I just look it up here, in terms of storage, yeah, you can see I've got the 64 gigabyte version here. And the question is, do you go for the 256 gig or the 64? I've used up about a third of the storage space with my two primary electronic flight bags, all my other apps on here, the maps that I've downloaded. I honestly think for me still the 64 gig is plenty of space.
This is Brighton Beach, by the way. You see, if you know Australia, and I love showing off Melbourne, so bear with me one second. See over here, those are the famous painted beach boxes down here at Brighton.
Okay, a couple of quick things relating to the battery life and overheating. No issues whatsoever. The battery life has actually been really good. The one thing I will say is I do run two EFBs, two electronic flight bags. I run Avplan and Garmin Pilot. You've got the two running together. On a 2 or 3 hour flight, it does actually drain the battery quite quickly because obviously it's using GPS to plot your position on two apps at the same time. In terms of overheating though, I mean, I'm lucky, I've got air conditioning in the Cirrus so it doesn't get too hot. But even taking that into consideration, fortunately this thing hasn't overheated on me once. The iPad Mini 5 did overheat a couple of times. That was flying through the desert though, that's not fair. Overheating really hasn't been an issue. I'm going to keep cycling around to the other side of the beach now, and then I want to tell you about the one thing with the iPad Mini 6 that, well, I think it might be a reason for me to try a different device in the future. Point about the iPad Mini 6, it's less related to the iPad itself and a little bit more related to who you are and how you use it. Now the iPad Mini 6 is obviously smaller than a regular iPad. It's a mini. That's the whole reason why a lot of people get it, because it's small and it fits neatly in the cockpit. However, it's small. It's smaller than a bigger iPad screen, and for some apps which don't support the accessibility option that iOS has, where you can increase the text size, it can be sometimes hard to read the text, especially when, if you're anything like me, your eyesight isn't quite what it used to be when you were a younger pilot. So yes, I have been giving a little bit of thought as to, is the size of the iPad mini maybe a bit too small for me now in the cockpit? And what I wanted to do was ask you, because I know a lot of you use iPads out there as well. So what do you use? An iPad mini or an iPad full size? And if you've used an iPad mini and moved to the full size because of eyesight, how have you found the change? I sound really old recording this bit, but the one big thing I will say though is if you're using an iPad mini 5 and you're watching this video considering whether you should upgrade to a 6, I honestly don't think, unless your iPad mini 5 is completely shot and it's not working anymore, I still use my iPad mini 5 as my backup in the cockpit. It works in exactly the same way as the 6. I don't really notice any difference whatsoever. So if you're wanting to upgrade because you think you should upgrade, don't upgrade. The iPad mini 5 is still an excellent device. If you are using an iPad in the cockpit like me, and irrespective of the regulations in your country, I would absolutely recommend having a backup, and that could be paper, or if you do currently have an iPad mini and you are looking to buy a new one, then use the old iPad mini as your backup. That's exactly what I do. All right, I'm going to keep cycling. I still need some more practice before that big challenge that's coming up on the channel soon. Thanks very much for watching. If you are new here and you're not subscribed to the channel, please feel free to click on that subscribe button. It means a lot to me to see the channel grow. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.